everyone, this is Bill with BLRTUNING. Hope you're all having a good day. I got a little video for you guys. We want to show you something that we've been working on for a long time, and we've had tons of requests for this. So this is our push button two-step launch control for Power Commander 5 and Power Commander 6. So this will work on your Power Commander. It gives you a 7/8 handlebar mounted switch. You can see there. And over 98 inches of wire. That's all encased and sheathed. It's got the rubber on the up here by the where it would be on the handlebar, so it'll match right in with your factory wires. Everything is covered. 10 leads at the end to plug into your Power Commander. And it comes with zip ties, decals obviously. So we're going to install it and show you exactly how it works. We do have Gromzilla here, so we have my Honda Grom. So you may know, if you follow already, we've made launch control for the 13 to 21 Honda Grom that has a little bracket that mounts down by the clutch area, and it operates off your clutch. So you hold the clutch in, you can put it on a timer. So basically you put your clutch on a half-a-second timer, hold the clutch in for half a second, now it's in launch control, and then you would rev it full throttle, launch the bike, and when you let out the clutch, it's going to go back up to full throttle. So this gives you a push button, which means this will work on your Z650, your MT-07. This will work on any bike that, your R3, any bike that is, well, most bikes that are single cylinder and two cylinder that use Power Commander are able to do ignition timing. If we can do ignition timing, then we can do launch control. So some of the older modules you might see, like on our shop Z900 before we sold that, it had a ignition module which allowed us to do launch control using Power Commander. They don't make those ignition modules anymore. But if you have one, then your bike can do launch control also. And this push button switch plugs into the Power Commander. So that's what you're going to get in this kit. You'll find it on our website, blrtuning.co. You're going to get the push button switch, the activated switch, with its housing and everything. You see how it is. It's all waterproof. And then it has this harness that's all just one piece. So it makes the install easy, makes it install clean. There's no spots for the wire to get broken. It's over 98 inches of wire. It'll go to the back end of a Harley or Indian. It'll easily go back to the back end of a Grom. Your ATV, your KLX 300R, or your Supermoto. It'll fit all those bikes, no problem. And as long as you have 7/8 handlebars, that's all that matters on this guy. Okay, so on some bikes, you'll be able to utilize, like on this Honda Grom, you see how the little perch here for the clutch has these two bolts. It lines up perfect with those. So we can actually not use the back housing that comes in the package and just install the switch right there with the bolts that came in the package. Those bolts that come in the package, they're an 8mm head. So you just need an 8mm socket to install it. So that's what we're going to do on here, but on some bikes it won't allow that. So you can use the 8mm or the the front and back housing and clamp it to the handlebars. So I'll show you what that looks like on a couple of the bikes we have here in the shop, and then we'll go ahead and get this installed. So you can see what I'm saying. These are 8mm bolts that come 8mm head on them. So you just need an 8mm socket, and the back housing is what's threaded. The front is not. So these bolts just drop through the front, right? And they thread into that back housing and get pinched onto your handlebars. So you'll find that some bikes, this will line up perfect with what's already existing that's holding your clutch. And you could put it on the right side too. Like, don't get me wrong. We're going to install it on the clutch side just because I think it's easier to have an open hand where you have your whole hand where your throttle is, and then your clutch and your button can be activated on the other side. Okay, so this bike is a 2022 MT-07, right? And it only has one pinch bolt here, so we can't use the back housing on this one. So we can either scoot it over this way and install our switch closer in here, or we can install our switch something like that. Right, just depends on the size of your hands too. You know, you remember you're going to be able to reach that button, but it is an option. Okay, I would personally probably move this whole thing over just a little bit. You don't got to go over much more than what's already there, and squeeze this guy in there. Okay. Okay, and then this is a Z650 that we have here in the shop. And you see, same thing, but you can see that this has the 2 bolt holes that do line up. So on the Z650, but the only downside is those are what is mounting the mirror. So if we delete that mirror, then you could use this. Maybe find some different mirrors, some bar end mirrors or something like that. If not, slide this over, put it right there, or you can use the bracket and put it right there. And then run your wiring. Like I said, you got that rubber coating on the wiring, so it'll all blend in with the handlebars or with your rest of your wiring. And you even have a factory clamp right there that you could utilize. And then it does come with zip ties. Run it down the frame underneath the tank, or underneath all your plastics, so it's out of the way. Back to your power commander, which is usually under the seat, either the back rear seat or rider seat. So let's get it installed over here on the Grom. Okay, so here we are with the Grom, and we're going to install it. We're going to get rid of these 2 bolts here, and we're going to use the 2 bolts that came in the kit and the switch housing right there. So on this bike, we won't have to move this at all. And then we'll run our wire down and over to this side of the bike. And we're going to follow these factory OEM wires right there on this side that you can see right there. We're just going to follow those. And we'll run it back under the plastic over here and up to our power commander. You see this has power commander 5, which is now discontinued, but it does the same thing as power commander 6 does. Has all the same functions. Okay, so the way that it gets installed on this guy, if you flip it over, you have these screw holes down here, little flatheads, and then you have these sets of holes in the front of the power commander next to that main harness. So the way these holes work, this first 2 here, that's switch input number 1, okay? Both of those holes go to switch input number 1, so this is going to quick shift, and then the next set over of 2 holes, so those 2 right there, see if we can get it to focus, these 2 right here is switch input number 2. The orientation of the wires does not matter, okay? So it doesn't matter which one you plug into which hole. All it knows is that these are either making a connection or they are not making a connection, okay? The switch is a open style switch, which means the circuit is open. When you push the button, it's a closed circuit. In Power Commander settings, you'll see open or closed switch. By default, I believe it's on open. So we're going to be using switch input number 2. So in our Power Commander settings, it'll be switch input number 2, open style switch. We can put it on a timer if we want, and we can set the rev limit that we want the switch to be at. Okay, so those are what we're going to use. You need a small flathead screwdriver. There's a little piece of rubber in there that you are pushing through because it stays kind of watertight. So the leads on our 2-step launch control are tinned, which means they're soldered at the ends. So it'll push through that easier. So you need to unscrew that flathead screwdriver, make sure it's all the way out. Not out of the device, but all the way in the out position. So you can see how these ones are tightened down. These 2 are not. Those are the 2 we're using. Okay, and now we'll slide our wires in once we get it back here, and then we'll coil the rest of the wiring up and just zip tie it out of the way. So the first thing we need to do is mount our switch. Then we're going to run our wiring from the front all the way to the back of the bike. That is the same way that you would install it no matter what bike you're installing it on. So if you're installing it on a quad or a dirt bike or a different street bike, a full-size bike, remember this is just on the Grom and it's an example. You would install it the same way, in the same fashion. You'll either plug into Power Commander 6 or Power Commander 5, either on switch input number 1 or switch input number 2. Okay, so I'm going to install the switch. We'll run our wiring through and feed it through everything, remove whatever panels you need to, and we'll get it back here, and then we'll come back and I'll show you guys how the launch control functions. So give me a minute. Let me get this guy all buttoned up. Pretty straightforward install, pretty easy install, depending on the bike you have, right? On something like a Ninja 1000 where you got to pull all the plastics off, you know, it might be a little more complicated. Or something like, you know, your R7, you got to pull plastics off to, you know, run the wiring. But other than that, pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, so we got it all installed. So now our button here is what is actually right to the perch on our clutch. So you can see that. And it is tight, it doesn't move. So that worked out. So we didn't have to use the other piece of that bracket that comes in the kit. And we used the bolts that came with the push button launch control. Okay, and then our wiring runs down here. Obviously this bike's got way more wiring than your normal Grom would, but it runs right here with this factory wire. So you really can't even tell. And then we got it ran down that side, and it comes under the seat here, and you can see this is all excess. So like I said, this will fit big bikes, small bikes. You can just coil that up out of the way there, and then you can see how we ran this wire right here to the switch number 2 input on the power commander. Okay, so the main thing is when you plug these in, put one in, tighten the screw down tight, and give it a little tug and see if it's actually in there correctly. If it's not, then loosen that screw back up and pull it back out. And then same with your second one. So none of these pull out, so they are down there tight. So now we're ready to put the seat on, and like I said, there'll be a video down below to show you how to set everything up in either Power Commander 5 or Power Commander 6 software. We have a couple different videos that'll show you that stuff, so look in the description below. And you can find all different types of videos on DynoJet stuff. We have a whole DynoJet section here on YouTube for BLR tuning. So if you have any questions, let me know. I can walk you through these settings over a phone call too. It's not hard. You'll find this on our website, blrtuning.co. Let's get the seat back on and let's put it on the chip. Okay, so we're gonna fire up old Gromzilla. A little stubborn on E85. So now when we push that button in, we are in launch control. So let me hop you up on the tripod. Okay, so now we got Grom running. So you'll see if I hold this button in, that's what the launch control set right at about 8,000. I think it's like 8,100. Let off that button, we are now at full tilt, so it'll come off the launch control and go right up to full throttle from that 8100. So the deal is you would hold your clutch, first gear, you're on the launch control, right? You would dump the clutch, keep your hand on that button until you get up to that speed, that way it doesn't just flip you over on your head. Once you're up to match that speed with that RPM and you're comfortable, you would then let go of the button. So this is what that would look like. So the reason we develop things like this is because consistency is what wins races, right? We build horsepower, we build torque. That's what we're known for here at BLR Tuning. And this type of launch control, you know, think of it, you're at the drag strip or you're sitting there at a racetrack and you're getting ready to take off. If you have to guess what your throttle is and how slow you let that clutch out and everything every single time, it's going to be different from time to time. You're going to mess up and you're going to go 3,500 RPM, 3,000 RPM the next time. It's not, your times aren't going to be consistent. So by having launch control using Power Commander, when you hold this button in, it's going to rev to that exact same rev limit every single time. All you got to do is go wide open throttle, right? You put it in gear, clutch in, put it in gear, hold the button, wide open throttle. I'm going to dump the clutch. I'm going to keep that button in. And when I know I have control of the bike and I'm not going to loop it on my back, I'm going to let go of that button and it's going to come up to full throttle. So I'm going to take off 10, 20 mile an hour, let go of that button, and now I'm full throttle. And it's going to be the same consistency every single time. And that's what wins races. Okay, so that's why we develop stuff like that. Okay, we've been working on, like I said, we've been working on this for a long time because we wanted to make sure it's the right one. It's got to be waterproof. It's got to be able to handle mud. It's got to be able to handle snow. It's got to be able to handle, the heat from the sun. So we want to make sure it's the right one, and we wanted to make sure we have a good length of wire. So this gives you over 98 inches of wire. That'll cover your side-by-side. That'll cover your ATV, your dirt bike, your Grom, your Z125, your MT-07, your Z650, your MT-03, all our bigger bikes. And like I said before, if you have the ignition module and power commander on like a 4-cylinder or 3-cylinder, then you can run this also. But it does require power commander. You'll see it on our website. We'll be selling it by itself. You'll see a couple kits on our website for other bikes that will offer this with it as a package deal. It will be on sale at launch. So probably usually for about a month, I leave stuff on sale. And then I mark it up to the full price that we're selling it for. Anyway, I'm Bill with BLR Tuning. If you guys want to check out our push button launch control, go check it out on our website. It's blrtuning.co. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.